Hey guys, Devil Dog here again with a reboot of my Let's Play series. What I'd like to do instead of my just normal Let's Play is actually shift gears and do a tutorial, basically like a learning Let's Play. So I want to show you as much as I can about the mechanics. I'm going to play through the entire series to either defeat or victory, hopefully victory. And in the process and along the way, I'm going to show you the basic mechanics and the things that aren't really well explained in the manual or the tutorial, and hopefully show you some of the stuff that I've learned through my 60 plus hours of getting through the early access builds and actually end up becoming a VIP. So a bunch of stuff I can teach you and a bunch of stuff hopefully that you can learn. And I'm just going to go ahead and start off. I'm going to let you know too that I actually am playing on hard on a large Pangea. So that means we're basically all on one large continent, and there's 4 of us, myself included. And let's go ahead and start. So the first thing that you always end up doing when you start a game is come down to the FIDSI display, and what it ends up showing you is the various resources that are included in this game. So FIDSI, as I explained before, is food, which is your green here, industry, which is your pinkish red color here, D for dust, S for science, and I for influence, which you very rarely see on the tile. Occasionally there are influence bonuses, but they come from anomalies. And those are your basic resources. Actually, they're only resources really, other than some strategic resources that we'll get into in a little bit. But those are your main resources that you're going to be really concerned about your very first turn. So especially with the Cultists, we're really going to be searching for a very good starting city location because the Cultists will never get another city. So it's very important for us to figure out where we want to put it and where we're going to get the most benefit from putting it. I can already tell you that I think that this spot or this spot is going to be our best bet. So here we would get, we also need to make sure that we can provide room to expand so that we can have districts and stuff that can level up, and we'll go into the district leveling up system here in a little bit. But we also want to have enough room that we can expand those districts and also level up those districts. So that's why I wouldn't necessarily put it right here, which looks like a really good spot, but my only expansion direction would be in this little direction here, and I'd want a little bit more space than that. So I think, despite the fact that this is a decent tile, I'm going to move here. But before I do that, it's also a good practice to pull out a couple of your units from your army. Oh look, so this is actually a bit of an Easter egg added at the very last minute. If you are familiar with Endless Space, you might know these guys. I'm not going to give anything more than that away, but this is a minor faction that was brought in very, very late. And yeah, if you guys know Endless Space, it's possibly the Hisho, so if that's how you pronounce it. Anyways, so what you do is you can actually break up your army a little bit and have them expand out a little bit to see if there is any other spots that could be good. Oh wow, so I should have actually just drawn down a little bit because this will be a better spot in general, period. So what we can do is, before we make that decision 100%, we'll bring this guy down. And so this is a very good spot, this is a very good spot, and this is something we could expand to. It gives us some space to go out this way and some space to go out this way, and this is also a very good spot that we could end up expanding to. So hopefully we can make it here. Let's go ahead and yep, we're gonna be able to make it there in the very first turn. So this is an excellent spot. We got the dust, we got 4 dust, we got quite a bit of industry output, got quite a bit of food, and we've got an excellent science output. So that's a great spot. We're going to start there. There we go. So we've begun our adventure. I'm going to actually, I'm going to come back to the city here. I want to show you the city management screen. This is such a good start. Okay, so what you're looking at here is something I explained in the last video, but I'm going to re-explain it real quick. Again, we were talking about Fidzy, so this is actually your Fidzy grid. So here you're going to see at the bottom what your city's producing after all the modifiers. Where it becomes where things get modified is through buildings, city buildings, and also your workers, which end up producing each of these resources. The production per citizen here explains to you how many of that each resource gets produced for each citizen. So here we get 4 food per citizen. Here we get 2 influence per person, and so on and so forth. We're going to leave them here because it's very important to build our citizens up through producing food as quickly as possible. The more citizens, the more you produce, and so on and so forth. Also, this is the influence resource that I had mentioned before, and that will come into play especially for the cultists very quickly. So let's also go into a few other things here. Now we're in the space. Let's talk about approval for a second. So I'm actually getting plus 20 approval from one of these anomalies, which is great. And I get a plus 60 approval base, which is also, I think that's pretty much normal throughout all the factions. But how this plays in is the higher it gets and to the point where it's fervent, which I believe is 90% or above, you end up increasing your food and industry output in this city. However, if we go to the Empire Management, this is the Empire Management screen. We'll go into it in a second. Our Empire approval, if it goes into the 90% or above, it will end up increasing our dust and research production through that modifier. So it's very important to remember that. So you can have, and they're all individual, so each city, of course the cultists are going to be a little bit different because we only have one city, but the city approval and the empire approval are different. You can have a few fervent cities and your empire won't be that happy. It could be because, especially if once you expand, you might have some cities that aren't really as happy with you. But that here modifies, again, research and dust. In fact, you can see here. And the city approval ends up modifying food and industry. I almost called it fruit. So those are important things to keep an eye on. So once we've colonized our first colony, our first city, which is such a good spot, we can go ahead and remove that Fidzy tile overlay and start thinking about what we're going to do. So let's go through all the menus real quick. Come back to the Empire Management menu. This is basically where your assimilated factions will come into play. That's something that the cultists will be doing a lot of. But once you assimilate factions, you can always come back here to see who you assimilated. Up here is your strategic resources, glass, steel, stuff like that, titanium, and so on and so forth. There's a few others as we get a little bit later in the game. Here are luxury resources. You find them on the map, and they end up being stuff like dyes and I forgot off the top of my head. There's one that's called like basically grapes, and so on and so forth. And you can use these once you've accumulated enough of them to provide bonuses to your empire. So a lot of them are like approval bonuses, but also you can get bonuses to like dust output and stuff like that. So this is something that once you start to mine these resources, you need to come back and start using. This is another section. It's called stockpile section. And once you've built the once you've actually researched the stockpiles through the research menu, you can start to accumulate stockpiles of different resources here in this section. And again, it's the same similar thing. You can use these to provide bonuses from whatever, like let's say you have one town or city that doesn't really produce that much food, and you've managed to provide or accumulate a stockpile in one of your other cities that produces a crap ton of food, you can use these stockpiles on the city that doesn't produce as much food, and that helps boost it. It's a pretty cool plan. It's a pretty cool mechanic, and it's something that I don't think many people use. So this screen in general is something that you need to come back to pretty often, especially as you start to produce these things, because you need to start using them, especially at opportune times. So we can go to the status screen, which basically just shows us how we're doing in comparison to everybody else. It's saying there's only one AI, but I know there's two. Maybe I've already met one. I don't think so. I'll look out. But there are three of us, or three others, I should say. There's four of us in total. You can come in here to see trade routes. This is something that you can do once we develop right-of-way. We haven't gotten there yet, so we won't even get into it. Next up is our city list screen. Because we'll only ever have one city, this is only ever going to be one. We won't worry about it for now, but this would be where you'd find your list of cities, and you can actually manage them through this. You can manage population through this little section here. Once you click on that, you can manage your population through each of the cities. It's a pretty cool overlay and general strategy screen. Next up is your research screen, and because we haven't chosen a research topic yet, we'll go ahead and do that. Most people, as I said before, choose either seed storage or mill foundry because of the increase in food production or the increase in industry production. Obviously, food, like I said, helps with the population increase. Industry will help with the ability to produce buildings, units. You spit it out. It's all built through industry. So this is obviously a very important building improvement as well. I'm going to go ahead and start with seed storage. Need to get those citizens up. But it's also something you can take a look at to see what you might be a little less proficient in. So we'll come to roster, and we'll look to see our food output and our industry output. And you know what? Our food output's rather great. So I might come back, actually, and do the mill foundry first. Oops. I always want to right-click it to get rid of it, but right-clicking brings you out of the menu, so which I really like. I like that you can right-click any menu and it gets you out, but yeah. So we'll go ahead and start with that. I'm going to go into the research topics as we move along, but for now, this is the research screen, and you have 6 eras. The 6th era being like super text that can pretty much help in the game, and so on and so forth. So we'll let this be for now. We'll come to the next menu, which is the quest menu. We haven't any quest yet, but we can come back to it once we do. This is your heroes screen. This is basically a menu in order for you to check out your menu or your heroes. A menu for menus, yeah, right. So this is where you can check out your heroes and equip them with various items that you might get through quests or through researching and producing new weapons and armor and stuff like that, so you can replace all their stuff that they start with. This is a screen we'll definitely touch on once we get a little bit later in the game. Come back out. Somebody told me, I forgot who it was. Let me try to think. I'll think about it while. Oh, it's like Tesla, I think, told me that I need to make my voice deeper, so occasionally I'll just talk like this. I bet he'll like that. Alright, so this is the military screen. This will show you all of your military units, and you'll know now that, or you'll see that because I have split these guys up, they actually will cost me more dust per turn. I'll recombine them so that they cost me less dust as upkeep. But this will give you a list of all your armies, and as I said, each individual army costs you upkeep. And the larger armies cost you more upkeep, but not quite as much as individual armies. So keep that in mind as you do stuff. You can also use this menu to retrofit your existing armies with new armor and new weapons. So that's very important as you progress and you get stuff that's pretty awesome. You can always retrofit your existing armies with that stuff that you've been getting. Here's your unit designs. We can go into unit designs as we get a little bit more research done and actually can do something with those unit designs, but it basically will allow you to modify each of your existing units with new armor and new weapons, just as you could with the hero. You can make them have new names and yada yada yada. That's not something we're going to get into just yet. Close this out. Of course, I'm sure. And last but not least, we'll go to the diplomacy menu, and that's why we know somebody, because the Draken actually have diplomatic access to everybody from the very beginning of the game, and that's why we know who Red is because they are the Draken. We can click on him and start negotiations. This is something that was added late in the game too, the animated diplomats, which I think are just awesome. Here is the negotiation screen, which we'll get into a little bit later. I'm not going to really mess with this yet because you do need influence to actually do anything here, and we don't have any influence, neither do the Draken. And this is actually a little bit more complicated than I want to get into just yet, so we'll leave it for now. This is something where you can go and see the strengths and weaknesses of the empire you're speaking to. And yeah, pretty. Come back out. And we can also talk, these are like the different tiers as to where each of the empires you're discussing with or talking with are kind of, which tier they sit in. This is obviously an alliance. This is peace. So you have alliance, peace, Cold War, or just sort of indifferent to each other, and then at war. So depending on where they are, and obviously we just met each other, so we're in a Cold War, and every time you meet a new empire, they'll sit in the Cold War tier, and as they either shift closer or farther away, you'll move up and down those tiers. Alright, so what we can do now is we can try to recombine these guys. Like I said, it costs us more dust per turn to have more armies. And because they won't actually be able to recombine this turn, and we've got everything else but our city building anything, we can go ahead and assign them a build queue. We'll go ahead and start with the Founders Memorial, which is basically just a straight buff to all of the Fidzi. And we'll go ahead and leave with that. Something I wanted to discuss with you, and I know I've seen some questions about it, is the district mechanic. So a lot of people don't know that you can actually level up your districts. The way you go about doing that is that you need to have any of your districts surrounded by 4 other districts. So in order for this city to become a level 1 city or level 2 city, it needs to be surrounded by 4 districts. So, you know what, I'm not sure if they start at level 0 and they go to level 2. I honestly haven't paid too much attention, but in order for you to level up this city, it needs to be surrounded by 4 districts. In each of those districts, if they're surrounded by 4 other districts, they become level 1 districts, and then if they become surrounded by level 1 districts, they become a level 2 district. So let me explain that a little bit further. Here you are, you have this, you have your main city hub district where things start. Let's say I built a district, so a borough here, which is an expansion, a district expansion. You build one here, you build one here, you build one here, and you build one here. Or hell, you can build 3 here and 1 there, or 2 here and 2 there, or 2 here, 2 there, wherever it is. You need to have this main city hub surrounded by 4 districts. This city will become level 1 or level 2. I can't remember. Sorry about that. You have to just let me go on that one. So once that occurs, you now have this as a level 1 or level 2. It is gained a level. Let's put it that way. Since it has gained a level, you can now use districts to gain levels. So now you have, let's say you did have one there, you did have one here, you did have one there, and you did have one here. This one gains a level. What would need to occur then is that this one here would need to be surrounded by 4 other districts, and this one would then gain a level. Once that occurs, each of the following districts, as long as they are surrounded by 4 other districts, they gain a level. And if they're surrounded by 4 level 2 districts, they become level 2. Hopefully that's enough to help you understand that. So yeah, that's probably the best way I can explain it. Hopefully that helps you. I know that's been something that a lot of people don't understand. And if you guys still have questions, I can try to explain that a little bit better. But just imagine that for every district you have, regardless if it's the uh, main district or the district that end up being built onto the city, that they need to be surrounded by other districts in order to gain levels. And it has to be 4. You have to be surrounded by 4 other districts in order to gain levels. So we've gone ahead and started our faction quest. I'll let you guys read that. We can go ahead and dismiss it. You know, I just realized is that you can't really hear the music. I tried to... Oh, okay. Somehow it just turned itself off. So, sorry about that. Now that I've explained everything, you can listen to the music a little bit, and yeah, it'll just add a little bit. And the few times where I need to speak, I'll just speak louder. Not really. So let's go ahead and bring these guys back. We'll reconvene everyone. Why aren't you moving? Let's go ahead and move him. No? Alright, so for some reason they're not combining. We won't worry about that just yet. I'm afraid there might be some small bug because I know that obviously these guys started off as an army, so they should be able to recombine as an army. We'll let a turn pass to make sure that that's just a bug, or if not, I'll just end it there and we can start up the next one. So what basically your idea here now is to rebuild or reconnect your army and then start exploring your surroundings in order to find things like this, which is unspoiled ruins, and they generate basically dust or maybe even a quest, stuff like that. And you can also go ahead and start looking for the minor factions like the Nidya here and others that you can either, well, here as the Cultists will be converting to our religion, and with other factions you assimilate them. And we can assimilate them here too. It's just we're most interested in bring them into the cult. So we'll go ahead and intern, and hopefully we can recombine these guys. There we go. I don't know why it wouldn't let me recombine them. That was weird. Alright, so we'll head up to this one. And take a look at what we got. We can see... Oh, no, we can't see the Draken, I don't think. Yeah, we don't have any sort of embassy or anything with them, and we haven't actually technically met them yet. We just know that they're in existence. And we'll just keep turning. Alright, so we've already completed the mill foundry. That's awesome, and that's a direct result of our crazy research. It's just much higher than it normally would be, and you can see over here it only takes 4 turns for us to get their research, which is just a great start. A very good start, I say. Let's go ahead and move this guy here. We're going to start working on this as well. That's something that you should also consider, is we can get through this stuff, 30 dust, and explore, but we also need to consider how we're going to start getting these minor factions into our cult as the Cultists. In fact, what I'll do is I'll move over here and see about what we need to do to bring them in diplomatically. No enemy in the region called Gadach for 5 turns. So I'm hoping this is Gadach. Looks like it is. So basically how you can interact with these guys is you can either attack them, which I don't recommend unless... well, actually, I don't recommend it at all with the Cultists, but it's a little less worrisome with any of the other factions. You can bribe them by paying them off and basically saying, hey, here's some money. Now stop being angry. Stop being hostile. And converting, which is something we can only do as Cultists. We're going to talk about that once we get to it. and then parlay, which is the way to diplomatically bring these minor factions into the fold. So let's go over here and make sure that there aren't any enemies. We can also just grab this while we're here. Take a look at the score. Like I said, this is a hard game this time around. I know I started the last game as on normal setting, but I feel like I can handle hard. I could probably handle harder than hard, but I don't want to look like a fool in front of everyone, so let's just leave it at hard. I know this game has been catching a little flack from the reviews about the AI. I personally think the AI is good. Maybe I'm not very good, or maybe I'm just comparing it to the AI that was present in the EA or early access. But I think it's good. Anyways, here we are. We've done the first two pretty much mandatory research topics. Now we can start to kind of branch off and figure out what we're going to do from here. We can research public library. Wait one second. Been doing all these turns and I forgot to do this. See, this is why there needs to be an idle city indication, because you get sidetracked, and I totally got sidetracked. We'll go ahead and build, actually we'll build the mill foundry to increase our production. Then we'll build the seed storage, and these will, again, this will give me a +6 bonus to industry and a +15% industry on city. And this will give me a flat +10 food during summer and a +15% on city, which is something I should have built like 5 turns ago. Oh man, see that has like something right here, just an indication that says you have an idle city. I don't even have to acknowledge it, I just want it to be there in red or something so that I know. Yeah, that's frustrating because I do that a lot, especially on Let's Plays. I've only done a few, but I've done it every time. So this is your hero level up screen. This is where you'll basically choose a skill depending on where you're headed. So if you want to focus on the class ability of this hero, or the class abilities of the hero, and this is a hero that is an infantry hero that's capable of doing damage, all these are going to be a little bit more oriented to fighting fights and surviving. Whereas the common ones are generally stuff like here you can improve your search on ruins, and here you're going to do like recovery speeds, and this is XP bonus on each turn and stuff like that. Then the faction skill tree here is a little bit more oriented towards the faction benefits that are needed for the faction strategy. So this one you're going to get like a fidzy bonus, a flat fidzy bonus for everything. If this guy were to be a governor and sit in the city, and so on and so forth. So they're all here. I would like to see this more fleshed out in the future, but for now it's a basic skill tree. I'm gonna go ahead and choose 10 defense on my hero because he will be fighting fights, and that's gonna give him a bonus to defense here, which is the ability to basically stave off damage. And yeah, just as it sounds. Go ahead and dismiss that. I'll move up here. Alright, so that's the outline of this region. I could probably come down here a little bit, make sure there's nothing else in this section so that I can fulfill this quest. Basically, the quest was to make sure there aren't any enemies in this region. And so we're going to go ahead and fulfill that, and then we're going to call it a day for this video. Oh, so sorry, that's right. I got sidetracked because I started to think about the things that we were building. Well, we didn't build. We wanted to go build something. So the next choice basically is to make sure that we kind of figure out what our strategy is. And this isn't too hard of a choice. I usually go with public library because it'll help me build on my research, and it snowballs a little bit from there. But you can also, depending on if you're on a river and you need some more dust, you can do some of these. Empire Mint's good for the Broken Lords because it increases dust. In fact, it's something you would do instead of the seed storage. But I don't need dust, and I don't need I don't have any resources that I've seen yet. I'd rather go ahead and boost my research capabilities. So we're going to go ahead and choose public library, which is plus 10 research, or yeah, plus 10 research, and then plus 10% research on city. So a little bit more science output, which we're good with. Bring this guy down here. Hopefully we can see actually over here a little bit. But I don't think there's going to be anybody in here. It doesn't look like there's any roaming neutrals or anything. So that's good. And there we go. So we've done it. We've kept it. Congratulations. They now believe that I can protect them. They gave me 10 Titan Bones, which is something that we can use in that Empire management screen. It's a luxury resource, just like I explained before. And it gives you plus 50% industry on cities and plus 10 approval. It's pretty good, actually. It costs 10 of the resource in order to actually use the booster, and as you can see, I just gained 10, so I can actually use it already. Won't do that just yet. Let's bring this guy over here, and then I can see how much I'll need to basically convert these guys to the cult. So it's going to require 20 influence, and at the time I have 13 influence. What we can do is actually shift one of these populations, or one of these workers, to producing influence so that I can actually produce it much faster. So before it was just the 1 bonus or 2 bonus, and now it's 4. So I'll be getting it done twice as fast. And I'm going to leave it at that for this episode. Hopefully I've been able to show you some of the stuff that you may not have known, and if not, hell, at least you're enjoying yourself maybe, slightly, maybe, I don't know. But I'm enjoying myself, so come on back for the next episode. I'm going to continue to show you the little things and hopefully not make the same mistake the 3rd time, because I made that same idle city mistake the 1st time, which makes me an idiot. Anyways, thanks for watching. Devildog here from Explorinate.com, and we'll see you next episode. Thank you.